Welcome to From Vinyl to Viral, and this will be part 2 of the special 2-part podcast. Today, we will talk about Taylor Swift, the global empire. I'm joined with my 2 favorite co-hosts.
Hi, I'm Veruca, Taylor Swift fanatic, ready for things to get heated.
I'm Mac, and I'm not sure what to do if they put each other in a headlock. So I'm a little afraid.
Yes, this episode will probably be more contentious than our last because there's definitely some differences of opinions, especially from me. Wish me luck as I do battle with 2 folks think she can do no wrong.
Oh.
All right, so let's begin with the re-records. I want to know what your real thoughts are on this. Do you believe it's a rebellion? Do you believe it's a cash grab? Let's start there.
I fight with people about this all the time. I think when she initially announced her re-recordings, I don't think it was a money grab. I don't think it was a publicity stunt. I think it was a girl who was trying to get her own art back.
Mm-hmm.
And I will back her for that. If she did the re-recordings now, already owning the originals again, it would be a cash grab.
We're going to get more into that part. Let's just talk about the initial feel of
re-recordings. I thought she was literally just trying to reclaim her own art and give us insight into what else she was doing at that time. Because we always hear the rumors of there being other songs, but we haven't heard the other songs yet.
Yeah.
V.
I didn't know until after Fearless TV had come out that the whole point was that she was trying to re-own her music. And so I thought the whole point was just to get those vault tracks out there and then also work with new artists on those older songs, of course. I also felt the order of the albums was so interesting. Fearless is kind of a crazy place to start, especially for re-recording. There's such a gap in maturity between those 2 albums. And of course, all people could talk about outside of the fandom when those albums started to come out was that her voice was not the same, didn't get the same vibe.
Yeah, she's not like a teenager.
The re-records I thought was an interesting idea from the outset. I'm going to play both sides on the re-records. Because what a lot of people don't understand is the record industry works. I think the whole industry's messed up.
Yeah.
And most people will tell you that. Same with writing or publishing industry. Unless you do it yourself, like my book, then they get rights to change my book unless you put it out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And they own, quote unquote, the master.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the same way in the music industry. I do not agree with the music industry in that you don't really own your art 9 times out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like Taylor kind of brought that to light.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she didn't do it in a way that said everybody's in the same boat. It made it seem like she got screwed.
I don't know if it's on her of she didn't explain it well enough because after Red TV or maybe just before Red TV came out, I did eventually read an article that was explaining the whole masters thing. Then it was like, oh, okay, kind of understand what we're going through here. But you don't really get full insight of, okay, this is happening to everybody. It's
Right.
not just her. Until fairly recently, she had said something about that she was doing this to also help those other artists understand as they go into the music industry, because she was just a teenager going into it and making these record deals. What else was she going to do? I feel like with any type of medium, that there's this idea that the artist kind of has more control than they really do. You can always negotiate the contract, but that's not necessarily true, right? Because it can prevent you from getting a record deal.
I'm going to push back a little bit on something you said because I read a lot about this. One of the things I read about is the recording industry and bands and how they make it and how they don't. And you do hear a lot about bands that sign crappy deals. She was 15, but she was not on her own in all that, in that endeavor. Her dad.
Yes. Yeah. No.
Was heavily involved. So it wasn't like she got completely taken advantage of. And then when you go forward in the big beef when Scooter Braun sold her music, a part that you never really hear her address is how her dad made $300 to $500 million off of that. Because she still owns a percentage of that. So to me, when she did the re-records, it was also kind of a double dip, in my opinion.
To some extent,
everybody act like Scooter Braun stole her records and then sold them and made a ton of profit, but she made a lot of money off of that as well.
I don't think the re-records were necessary, or even owning her masters was the the point was not to like make money off of these, but more so to control the narrative of how they're used. Like we
And that's
talk
fine.
about like
I get that.
getting the rights for music and movies. She
Mhm.
didn't have any say of
No.
like what movies they were going to be in.
And again,
I
that
think that is the bigger piece of it than what she is making monetarily off of it.
well, let me finish.
Okay.
The idea of the movies, I completely understand because that is quite common in the music industry. I read
Mhm.
Derek Whibley, who from Sum 41, his book, and he talked about that. They were going to quit with all this because they didn't want some of their songs in certain movies commercials, right? Here, one of the classic ones was they used Depeche Mode song in a Gap commercial. You don't want stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
So I do understand her wanting control. But what I'm saying is there's some things that I don't think the public understands also, whether it was about the money or not. She, in my personal opinion, I saw her play it as she was getting screwed over, that she was a victim of everything.
Mhm.
I think a lot of artists and bands are victims in the music industry.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the narrative that came out later on. Maybe that is to the fault of Taylor Swift if she didn't come out with it right away of, okay, this is, and explain to everybody since she is the person coming from the area of knowledge of being in the music industry, that's what everybody is going to, but did eventually come out and say, hey, this is what all of the artists are going through, and this is not really something that should continue happening. And it does take like an influential artist like Taylor Swift to be able to step in and like make that change generationally.
It's a very hard change to make because that's why you have indie record labels. Of course, I'm a big punk guy, right? And most bands do indie records
Mhm.
because they don't lose that. But you don't get the distribution,
Right.
which is one thing, which distribution is a little bit different these days now because I don't need you to put my record in CD stores or Sam Goody or whatever we
Right.
had back in the day.
Spotify.
Yeah, you can do that yourself. What happens with these artists is, and same thing with Taylor Swift, when she recorded Debut, they front you the money to record these records because people can't afford all the audio engineers, the studio time, the tape,
Yes.
and then the pressing of the albums and everything that it takes to record an album.
Mhm.
But if you do that on a mass level with like a big record label, then they are going to take a percentage.
Right.
A lot of artists will end up paying that percentage. It'll be 2-3 years for like even Nirvana. I read about how big they got. It took them 2 years before they paid back Geffen Records for everything,
Mhm.
right? So it's a little bit different in today's world because, like I said, you don't need distribution as much. Radio
But you
airplay
still
doesn't matter as much.
Right, but you still need the marketing dollars have to come out in some way because you can't just post to TikTok and hope that it gets seen. Like
Right.
today, in today's world, posting through any marketing channel, there has to be some money put forward to really like push the content to
Mhm.
reach the wider audience.
Right.
Right.
And that's where these record companies come into play.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm saying when she was a teenager, even though her dad was behind her at the time, it's that she was a newer artist, not necessarily that she was being taken advantage of because of her age, but more so that she was a newer artist coming into the scene. There had to be some give and take between her and the record label
Right.
of making this agreement.
I agree. And that's what I'm saying. But I just saw in the way it played out in the media is a very different story. And that's the part I didn't like.
A little bit. I will say at first that's a bit how it came off, but now we also see other artists that aren't as big name are doing something similar. So if you think about Rachel Platten, she's the one that wrote a fight song that was really popular. She just re-recorded a lot of her songs because of how Taylor Swift did her process. I think she explained it a little bit better of like wanting to like own the rights to everything instead of just wanting to own her art. She was like, I want to own how it's
Right.
used.
And I
And
completely understand that.
yeah, and I think that was something that wasn't necessarily 100% presented up front with Taylor's thing, but I
Mhm.
think that was a new concept for all of us that are not in the music industry.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't know how it worked until that happened, and then I like dug a little bit deeper into it, not as deep as you guys have, but I was like, oh, that's actually kind of messed up. And it took like a couple other artists like coming out of the woodwork and doing something similar after Taylor Swift had already kind of done it and set like this new precedence of like, hey, you can do this type of thing.
Who was it that just sold his catalog? Somebody kind of big. He just sold like a majority of his catalog for like 700 million. Yeah. So, again, he had the rights to his catalog and he sold it for 700 million. So at the end of the day, all I'm trying to say is I felt like at the time, a lot of people who don't understand the record industry were making assumptions and getting their feelings involved on this when it's kind of the way the game is played. And I felt like Taylor played into that. That's all I'm trying to say.
I mean, I guess you do have to think Taylor has one of the greatest PR teams backing her ever,
Yeah.
right? Tree Payne is probably the most famous publicist to ever exist. And so you have to think about how much of it was narrative that they were pushing out in a way that was digestible, just so that they could at least get started, right? Because it wasn't like at the end of the day they were hiding it all. Like she eventually
Well, I know she wasn't hiding it,
explain but to get started, you have to have some sort of digestible narrative, which is usually more emotionally driven.
yeah.
So
Well,
People also have to look at I would not have understood what was going on. I know there are people who are younger than me that are also fans, or even older than me that probably wouldn't understand either. So, like, I think Farouk is right. You have to make that information obtainable and digestible for the audience. And then once you actually get the ground rolling, or the ball,
We're-
you can kind of like
we're going to tackle this again on the kind of some victimhood type things with Taylor Swift.
it's
Because yeah, we're going to tackle it. It's going to come into play again. But kind of the finish on that. How do you feel now that she did buy the masters back?
I mean, I think that was obviously the end goal overall. Like,
Right.
she had the Eras tour, she re-recorded all the albums and made money off of these albums to where eventually she could get the money. What was the situation? Was she given a number up front and that she couldn't afford, or was it just like they didn't want to sell it? But eventually they came back around and they were like, okay, here's the number. It was like massive number. And then she was able to afford it because of the re-records in the Eras tour. So there had to be some commodity, I guess, to get her to that point of affording the purchase.
Think about this. This is why I'm really asking, right? So the beginning of the issue was Scooter Braun, I guess, had told her at one point she would get first dibs on buying her music back. But he did not do that, and he sold them. But she still got paid off of that. So that's a big misnomer sometimes. She still made a lot of money off that deal. But when she went to initially buy the rights, it was too much money. She couldn't afford it, right? Obviously, because some hedge fund now owned it. And then you're correct. The Eras tour was the main, because that's how artists make their money. They don't make it on records.
Right.
They make it on tours. And the Eras tour, one of her main drivers, of course, made a bunch of money was how she bought the masters. But what I'm asking you guys as fans that bought these re-records and did these things, and now she owns it all again anyway, do you feel kind of like any kind of way about that? Or
I don't necessarily, I think what you're trying to say is like, do we feel slighted by it?
Yeah.
I don't think I feel slighted by it, mostly because like we got something pretty spectacular out of it, right? Which was the Eras tour. And I don't know that we would have had the Eras tour
but what about okay, that's fine on the Eras tour, but what about the re-records? And then people are buying these special limited editions now.
I mean, we can get into a whole different thing.
No, we will.
But I think that like the re-records brought us like the collaboration with new artists and then the vault tracks, which were obviously really special. So
I think there's also something like very special, like specifically looking at like Fearless and Red as like those are big albums from my childhood. So hearing like adult Taylor sing those songs to like my adult ears was kind of something like that I hadn't expected an artist to do, you know? And I think that made it more special, but that's also just me being very emotionally attached to both of those albums. Whereas like 1989, I felt like the best part of that was the vault tracks. Like the new music. I didn't really like 1989 100%, either album, the re-record or the original, but I think the vault tracks for me are my favorite part of that, and I liked knowing what other songs we could have had, but I don't think, specifically with that album, I think those vault tracks had to wait until later to come out. I don't think they would have done as well when the album originally came out, which is obviously why they weren't on there.
Right.
But I still liked that we got to like have a piece of that. I don't know. I thought it was very just like very like cool to have those
Yeah.
experiences and like get to like listen to them for the first time.
Yeah.
And then also for the second time with like the original songs.
Yeah. It's like, how can you feel like you were slighted when you actually got something out of the deal? It wasn't like she was just re-recording that
I
the same as it was. I think there's also, to your point of like ball tracks coming out that really couldn't be published at the time,
Mhm.
or like the Speak Now tracks, especially, where like some of those songs like Castles Crumbling, and I don't think they would have even meant as much
No.
back then as like
As
they
they do.
just even hold up even more
Yeah.
today. So
okay.
The
that's
only
getting
thing,
into
the
a
only thing that
totally
pissed me off
different
with the
topic.
vault tracks was when she re-recorded Better Than Revenge and didn't even use the original lyrics.
Right.
Everyone was pissed. So was I. That was the only
Yeah.
issue I had with them.
Yeah.
That's the only issue.
hmm
So the only thing I truly want to push back against is I disagree with you, Mac, on the idea of hearing an adult Taylor record it, because I feel like when an artist records a record,
Mhm.
I want the original thought, feeling, and emotion.
I do like that, but also hearing her sing those songs again with how she's like grown as an artist, I did think that was really cool. Now, I'm always gonna prefer the originals to the re-records, but it's one of those things where it just like healed like a part of me. Oh, she really did grow up with us. Here's grown up Taylor also singing You Belong With Me.
hmm
And that was special to me, but the original is always gonna be my favorite of that
Mhm.
song, you know?
Because I'm always a huge fan of when bands release the original demos, and I like a lot of the original demos more than what was released to the public, because you get that younger voice, the rawer aggression usually once moved out in the studio as much. So I would push back against that part of it. And when it comes to the vault tracks, this was something that kind of I've never talked about before. Everybody was like, "Oh, we're getting these vault tracks. This is great." No, that's called B-sides, right? Every artist and every band, when they create a record, usually have X number of songs left over that don't make the album. And sometimes they'll release them as a whole album in and of itself. You'll have rarities or B-sides and demos released. Or back in the day, I know this, you would get 45s and then cassette tapes. You would have a single that was released, and on the flip would be a B-side, which might not be on the main record.
hmm
Okay. And that's how it's always kind of worked. So when people are like the vault tracks, well, she could have easily just released a B-sides record.
I think it was important to like play some of those tracks in the original context, though.
Yeah. I also
If that
think
makes
that had
sense.
she released Speak Now with I Can See You on there, my mom probably wouldn't let me buy the CD.
Exactly. That was
Like,
that was the
I'm
song
like
I
100%
picked
sure
up.
that that would not have flown well in
Yeah.
the Thomas household. I'm sure it didn't go over well in the Swift household either, given
Yeah.
her age at the time she released that song and like who she was
Right.
dating. Was the thing is like some of those songs, their moment was not when that album came out.
Mhm.
Their moment was in like 2020. It was something fresh to like kind of bring us back to that moment and be like, whoa, we can still kind of see where it came from in that era. But like, having, for example, like Haley Williams on Castles Crumbling, that's one of my favorite vault tracks just because you get to see that collaboration and that newness. They're bringing new light to a song that she wrote
Yeah.
at a very different time in her life.
Mhm.
That to me was like everything.
It's also, yeah, going back to your point too about like older Taylor coming back and really, I feel like she adds new meaning to some of these songs. People talk about Long Live is probably the best example of this. On Speak
Love-
Now, the original song is very, okay, prom, end of high school, you know, you kind of like grew up with these people. And now the re-record is really more of Taylor Swift growing up with us, as what
Yeah.
you said, right?
And that's how
Like,
she used it in the Eras tour too. That was how
Yeah.
she used the song. And I think that's
Exactly.
beautiful.
It's just something different that you can't do with going back to a demo that's like more emotional from like the original state of mind of writing it.
Mhm.
Whereas now it's not the original state of mind. It's what does it mean now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I completely understand what you're saying. Not for me.
Okay.
So we're fighting today. That's
Yeah. No, I completely understand what you guys are saying. I don't think about it that way, and I really don't like that idea. I think a record, an album, and song are a snapshot of that time. And you can't go back and recreate it to mean something new.
Mhm. Well, I think that that's the difference between an artist that just lives in the then of their music and generational artists like Taylor Swift who's going to
Well, no,
continue to be.
no. Because you got to think, when the Beatles were recording Abbey Road, for example,
Mhm.
did you want to go back and re-record I Want to Hold Your Hand?
No, not I don't. That's not to say that every song is going to be like that. But
Because
think
they've
about, like,
evolved.
okay, here's like another example, totally separate from Taylor Swift. What was the one song that was "Oh, We Can Start a Fire"? Right, that was actually an '80s song. They re-recorded it recently with like, new lyrics to basically
We didn't
overall
start the
like,
fire?
yeah, we
Yes.
didn't start the fire. It
Yeah,
was
you,
always burning since the world's been turned.
yeah, you said something else, but that's fine.
Oh,
Just make her point.
Yeah.
whatever.
You said we
Okay.
can start the fire, but
Oh,
okay.
okay.
We knew what you meant.
Anyways, the broader messaging there was the same, but since they have re-recorded it with these new lyrics, it's telling
I
today's
know.
story,
It's
right?
just like the people
Like,
who
it's
on
the
TikTok do the different versions of Bowling for Soup's
but
1985.
that's what I'm saying, is that it's like become a generational song because its meaning has changed over time.
I'm not a big fan.
All right.
I'm not a big fan of all these 1985 versions because
And that's fine.
because I think it steals from the original. Because when she re-recorded, what's the song, and changed the lyrics, was Debut. There was a song.
Well, she didn't re-record Debut.
Oh,
So.
you're thinking of the debut song where she says something about she'll tell his friends that he's gay.
Yeah, but she didn't re-record. Like
That was
wasn't
the
like Taylor's version issue. That was like an original.
Yeah.
She swapped it out because it was not like super PC at the time.
Mhm.
I still think it would have been iconic, but that's just me.
Well, okay, I understand what you're saying there. So yeah, I agree. But those are the types of things I don't want to see when you re-record, and that's why I don't like going back to these songs and redoing them, because in that specific example, that's what she meant to say. I listen to a lot of music, I guess that wouldn't be PC, but it would be completely different if they re-recorded it.
Yeah, but I mean that's what Better Than Revenge essentially was. Is everyone called her out when she first released it for being anti-feminist and like she was slut shaming somebody, and all of the real Speak Now stands were like, yes, get that bitch. You know, like we were for it. And then she did the re-recordings, and at this point, everyone loves her, right? She's like grown back into this empire. You know, she's gotten her voice again, and we are all like Taylor Swift fans. And then she re-released Speak Now, and everyone got to Better Than Revenge. And I remember watching video after video of people's raw reactions to her changing the lyrics,
Yeah.
and every single one of us was like, "What?
Bruh.
Why did you do that for?" I don't know. That one was my only problem with it because that was the time she strayed from the original lyrics, whereas with all of her other songs, she stayed pretty true to the originals.
Mhm.
It was just her covering her own music, which I thought was, you know, I like.
Yeah, again, it's just like you remake all these movies. There's lots of hits
That's a
and
whole other thing.
misses.
I freaking hate that.
Hits and misses. Okay, let's move on. Give me some thoughts on Eras Tour first.
The first thing that comes to mind is she brings all of her music back. It's peak girlhood. Seeing the stadiums full of girls that are for 3 hours are best friends, right, in this room, and we're all listening to the same music that we grew up with, and even bringing it to new generations too. Like the 22 hat goes to whatever young girl in the audience, and mothers are bringing along their daughters.
Sure.
And everything. Just it's crazy.
Not been to a lot of concerts. Most of what I've seen of the Eras tour is just clips on the internet. But I feel like she kind of redid the way that people normally thought about concerts, because for the majority of concerts that I've been to, it's been about that album, and they maybe play a handful of songs from another album. But I personally have not seen another artist that I'd like really go from the start of their music collection to up to like, when she was releasing Tortured Post Department. She added that into the set and have this whole show that expands their entire catalog. And now, not to say that there isn't an artist that hasn't done that.
Yeah, I was gonna say most artists I've ever seen do that.
Really, I've seen a lot of like civic tours where
They
like,
don't
think about-
separate it, of course, with different
But they always
styles.
play their
that's how she
hits.
did.
Well, no, because most artists, you go to a concert and they will close the show. Their encore will be 2 to 3 songs that were off their first album that everybody
Yeah.
loves.
But hers was sectioned off, and it was a different story for every album. She truly took you back. The whole point of the Eras tour was she took you back to that era of her music. And I think that that was a beautiful storytelling on that tour that I hadn't really seen other artists do. Also, the fact that this was a 3-hour-long concert where Sis was nonstop moving. Like, I don't think there was an intermission or anything. She did not have a huge break. That in itself was physically impressive. To be moving that much, I won't say dancing because it's not Sis's strong suit, but like to be moving that much, singing that much, and all over the stage, all these different costume changes, having to remember everything, and then still pulling out fun things that were different each night, like the surprise songs, and giving her audience a piece of what they kind of wanted or keep them on edge. That's a lot physically and mentally to do. But then you also think of all the things that happened while she was on this tour. There was like a couple of different threat and terror attacks to her concert that either happened at clubs playing Taylor Swift songs or were an actual threat to her venue. That's a lot of pressure on an individual. So I think in itself, that was an impressive thing to just keep doing and keep going. She's also going through, I will say, 2 breakups because Jenna and Maddie Healy during this, I couldn't do anything. I was going through something like that. And she was still also writing songs on the side, producing a whole other album.
Right.
This was impressive if you just like think about it. That's crazy for one human being.
You brought up something, Mac, that I want Baruka to talk about. Tell us about your Eras Tour experience.
Oh, so I had tickets to the Vienna showing. That was the one that was canceled because of the threatened terrorist attacks. I know that there was like a lot of talk online about like whether or not it should have even been canceled. There was some speculation that it wasn't, like the threats weren't as serious as whatever. Like, but that's, hearsay. Like you can go back and forth on that however much. I mean, it did suck. Obviously, like I had really been looking forward to that concert. But I don't know, like just things happen. And like one thing that was like really emotional for me too was like watching the Eras Tour documentary come out when there was like the whole situation in Liverpool, and then to watch her like have to go on stage. Where was she in Manchester? I think after the Liverpool thing happened, and to see like how emotional she was, and then she just had to like literally like silence her brain to then go on stage after like literally seeing the victims' families like in her dressing room beforehand. It's so crazy. And so I really feel for her. I mean, obviously I feel for myself too, but I don't know. There's not like a whole lot I can say about that.
What do you think about the idea on the Eras Tour? Because you were not the only one. I knew several people who went overseas to see the show, so it was more affordable. Fly over there and get a ticket and see the show than it was to see one in the States.
Like, I feel like that's mostly just hearsay about them more affordable to like fly overseas and see her. Obviously, it was more convenient for me having a family member who lives overseas. So it wasn't like I was just traveling overseas to go see her.
Well, I know.
No, I feel like that has more to do. This is more of a conversation about the resale ticket market in the United States, because I bought my tickets for Vienna resale through OE, which is a Viennese version of Ticketmaster, or German version of Ticketmaster. And they were roughly the same price as like the original tickets. I think obviously the original tickets for the Eras Tour, if you were even able to get them through the Ticketmaster War, which I did try to get them for the Glendale showing, which was the first set of shows. I mean, that was probably a mistake in and of itself. I think everybody was trying to get those tickets. So I feel like that's more of a discussion about resale prices, because people talk about the Eras Tour being so expensive, but they're not talking about the original tickets. They're talking about resale prices.
I know, but that gets into part of the problem. One of my friends, he took his daughter to Milan
Okay.
to see Taylor, and they had floor.
Okay.
And they got their floor tickets, and their airline was cheaper than buying floor tickets anywhere in America.
Right. Like I said, I mean, I definitely understand that, but that's still more of a discussion about resale ticket culture in the United States versus overseas. Because we, in the United States, price gouge the shit out of each other for literally any concert ticket, any major concert ticket. It's like that. I don't think it has anything to do with Taylor Swift's concert itself, but just how we in the United States deal with ticket sales.
But it does open a larger question, right? I understand Taylor Swift didn't do that, but Do you think people should literally be paying these tens of thousands of dollars or $2,000 per ticket?
I mean, I don't think that they should have to, but if that's their own prerogative. If that's the artist they really want to see, I honestly really truly feel for them that they had to go that route to do that, and that like somebody else was able to purchase the original ticket probably with the intent of reselling it anyways. Like that's really just poor on the original buyers. But like once again, like it's not a discussion about the Eras Tour, it's a discussion about just like ticket sales in the United States in general.
Okay, I'm not blaming this on her. What I'm saying is, it's just like the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl now have priced out football fans. Being a regular, normal football fan, you can't go to the Super Bowl. It's corporate interests. It's people that are rich that get to go to the Super Bowl. And I feel like that's the way the Eras Tour became in America. That was status.
Yeah,
It was,
and definitely I feel like later on, especially one of the LA shows were some of the later showings in the United States, and you could tell that a lot of the people that were attending these concerts and hosting it were just doing it more for the clout or to flash their money. I don't know what to say to that. Like, I
well,
think
my
it's
question is how do you
disappointing,
guys feel
but
about that as a Swiftie?
I mean, it's obviously disappointing, but I hate to be the person who's gonna gatekeep an artist because I'm disappointed in how somebody may have approached their intent to go to a concert like that. I would hate to say about somebody, oh, you just went to that concert because you're not even a fan. You just went because you want to flex, right? But I don't know anybody personally who chose to buy a ticket to the Eras Tour just because they were trying to flex their money and their status. So I can't really say anything about that. And I would hate to gatekeep Taylor Swift. That's just such a like silly thing.
Yeah, I don't go to a lot of concerts or like go out of my way to go to concerts unless I really like the artist, and even then, I'd rather just listen to the music by myself. But that's just me not being like a people person. I don't like to be around other people. But I feel like you can't. There are some times when you know that when you buy it to resell it, like that was their whole
Well, yeah.
intention. And then there were some influencers on TikTok that I saw went to like 8 or 9 of the Taylor Swift concerts, and I was like, how did you even do that? But if you go far enough back on their content, they are genuine Taylor Swift fan. So it might have been, yeah, they're getting views and like they are probably profiting off of it a little bit, but they're also a bit fan to some extent. So it's really hard to tell. I don't feel educated enough to speak on that one. So I don't go to a lot of concerts.
I have seen like there was a girl, I don't think she was an influencer by any means, but she was a girl who had followed Taylor Swift around from city to city for a little bit. So she had something like 10 different tickets. Because people were saying in her comments, you should have left tickets for the rest of the Taylor Swift fans and whatever. And she was like, but does me buying 10 tickets as one person really make a difference in like thousands and thousands of tickets purchased? And it's like, okay, I see the point, but I think that there was more so something to be said about the fact that she felt the need to go to 10 different concerts of the same concert, right?
I could get if you bought 2 tickets and you went to one pre-Tortured Poets Department, one after, a little bit of a different show. I can understand that one, but going to 10 of the same concert, that would drive me up a wall. And I'm the kind of person that like if I like a song, it'll just play on loop until I'm tired of it. So I feel that one was weird, but yeah, I saw a couple of influencers that like went to different showings, but like they were also like already Taylor Swift fans, so that one's hard to tell. Like it's probably
Since you guys are already into it, I'm going to discuss something else that was waiting a little later.
Okay.
At what point do you think the fandom has become like a sole personality trait?
It's my only personality trait.
I'm not attacking you, Mac. I'm saying legitimate.
I love showing up to work in my Taylor Swift like little crew neck, and I have this one male coworker who literally unfollowed an account on TikTok because he follows the max amount of people on TikTok he can follow. He had to unfollow someone to follow a Taylor Swift fan hate page. I live walking into work in that sweatshirt knowing that he'll say something. I love rage baiting men. At my other job, I have one male coworker that calls me Swiftie, like as my name, and he hates when like we get Taylor Swift merch, quote unquote, in. I'll like put it on hold under his name up at the cashier stand. So when he comes in for his next shift, he knows we got it. I love making that my personality trait, specifically to rage bait other people. My dad's another one. He hates Taylor Swift. We were listening to like Taylor Swift's Christmas songs in his truck, and he was like, "Let's pick up track." He's like, "It's okay. It's just 3 more minutes. It's one song." I love doing things like that. I love it. Now for the rest of the people, I think it would be annoying if that was the only thing I ever talked about, but I think for a specific audience, that is my only personality trait. And I'll do it just for the reaction, but I think there are some people that like that really is their only personality trait, and it's kind of like, do you have anything else? Like the Taylor Swift impersonators, that's a little crazy. The girls on TikTok, there's like one, I think her name is like Ashley or Emily. It's like a
Yes,
basic white girl
Ashley.
name. That's creepy. That's a whole other level of that's my only personality
What do
trait.
you mean?
I feel like I should be.
So do you think, Veruca, how do you feel about that? The fandom and becoming a
Mm.
personality trait and
I don't know. I think that being a fan of Taylor Swift as a musical artist and entertainer and like all of the things that she stands for is one thing. I think that there's a difference when there are people in the fandom who have literally built what they call like a parasocial relationship with Taylor
Yeah.
Swift. Like in their mind, they would be like her best friend if they like actually personally knew each other,
Mhm.
right? And so they like strive to learn every little like personal detail about her and everything. And I just feel like there's a difference there. But being a fan of Taylor Swift as an artist and entertainer, etc., is no different than a freaking dweeb who's a fan of anime or a freaking Dungeons and Dragons.
I understand, but there does seem to be people that have crossed over in this Taylor
Yeah.
Swift.
Well,
And I
Or
understand
people can
exactly.
do that with anybody.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you can, but it just seems all I asked was simple.
I think-
When does the fandom become identity?
I think when you take it too far, because there is a difference between appreciating and idolizing. And I think it becomes too far when you are fully idolizing that individual and not just appreciating. Like, I would say, even though to some people in my life, I make being Taylor Swift fan like my only personality trait, it is not my only personality trait. I appreciate her music. I appreciate just like some of the things she's done, like in her work and like in some of her charitable efforts. And I can be a fan of her without idolizing her, wanting to be her best friend,
Mhm.
thinking everything she does is great, thinking she walks on water. Like, that's when you take it too far.
Mhm.
Would you agree that she's probably attracted more to those people?
I think that it's so hard to say because like
Again,
she
this
has
isn't
been
necessarily her fault,
No,
but
right,
I
I
just,
just
right,
hear about
right.
it more when it's a Taylor Swift fan.
I think that she's been around for so long that there is like so much to learn about her, right? And like to some degree, she's like built a little bit of an air of mystery, right? Like she is not literally like aired out everything about her life online.
And that's what keeps people obsessed.
Exactly. But I think that like generationally, we are coming to like kind of a weird point where like there are a lot of people that are just building parasocial relationships with people online because we have that access
Yeah.
to information for them.
We should not
And
have
like
access.
right, exactly. And like you said, I think that like it can happen with any sort of influencer, like public figure, especially if they're on TikTok. I think that there are a lot of like parasocial relationships on TikTok.
maybe I should have brought this up before this discussion,
Mhm.
but at what point do you say, wait a minute, there's certain are happening that has encouraged this, like the Easter egg culture?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one's a little bit strange to me, but I like it at the same time.
I think it's when people are taking it the wrong way, especially about the Easter egg thing. She has literally said verbatim that she likes to place Easter eggs in her music, her content, or whatever that connects to her music, not to her life. And I think people don't understand that or lose the point of that. And that's when that, once again, I'm going to say this word a million times, but the parasocial relationship starts to build and they are like invading her privacy.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't get the point. And I think even more than not Taylor Swift's fault because she has tried to even evade that by coming out and saying these Easter eggs are just for my music. They're not about my personal life. And yet there are still people that try to take it.
I see a situation where sometimes I feel like she does things and kind of encourages things for people to always try to be thinking about these clues for Rep TV release.
And I think some of the Rep TV was fans reaching for something they were never going to get.
Mhm.
I don't think she was intentionally making those hints or anything. When there was a glitch at her concert or something and everyone was like, oh, it's because of Reputation TV. That, first of all, that is wild that you even noticed. That is so crazy that that is your fixation. But I like that she does the Easter eggs for some of her music. You can relate them back and the songs interconnect or the characters in the songs interconnect. I think that's very cool. I like personally that we don't know a lot about her life. Like we know a lot, we know way more than we should. But I like that there's a lot of moments she keeps very private and like under wraps. And I appreciate that about her. But I do think that some people see that as wanting more. And so they generate and they spin it until it becomes an obsession. And then they're following her around almost in a stalker way. Obviously, there's real stalkers, and then there's like the internet obsessors and stalkers that way too. But I don't think she does that intentionally. I don't think she hides certain things for the attention, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think she realized that she was sharing too much at one point and then tried to draw it back. And now people are expecting her to share that same level of stuff.
Mhm.
Okay, let's kind of expand on this a little bit.
Okay.
How do you feel about not just her, but her team curates her image?
I think that she is putting her own true personality into things and is always trying to put her best foot forward. But at the same time, there is a business
Mm-hmm.
aspect to it, of course, because she is backed by a professional PR team who are always trying to professionally strategize how things are taken. And I think that that's also part of why, like, we got Better Than Revenge with different lyrics.
The PR team was like, don't say that.
Yeah,
Don't say that right
exactly.
But, with that, because obviously she won't interview with just anybody, and she's always got handlers.
Sure.
How do you feel about that? Because to me, I think at some point it becomes a little much. It becomes a little too sterile, too
I think
sanitized.
But that, I think, is also part of trying to avoid just airing out your personal business. So if you're interviewing with the wrong people and you aren't being strategic about who actually has my best interest in mind when I'm going into interview, and they aren't just trying to literally pull out every little personal detail about me, it's protection of self.
Yeah. I think it's an act of self-preservation, and she's media trained, obviously. She's
Yeah.
trying to be more professional because, again, this is her job. At the end of the day, while it's also art and it's also we're seeing a bit of her personality, this is her profession. So I think she does want to put that best foot forward. I would want that. I don't know. I think that that's a smart move. And I think she gets advice from very intelligent people on how to make those smart moves because, again, she's trying to remain professional. Where if you look at like, my favorite untrained media queen is Renee Rapp, she just says whatever pops in her brain. And then that moment is either viral and really good for her or it's viral and it's really bad.
Right. But at the same
So-
time, I believe those people are keeping it real and being real.
Yeah.
That's why I say I think it's overly sanitized, overly polished. But at the same time, you said, well, she don't want to let people in. Then we go back to the idea of the way she wrote some of these albums.
Yeah.
You can, and to me, you're trying to have it both ways.
I think she is trying to have it both ways a little bit too, because she will have a very professional interview, and then we'll see the Eras Tour documentary where there's some silly bits and like
No.
things like that
That's
too.
not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is I don't want to put my personal life out there until I can sell records doing it. She's trying to play that both ways. Obviously, she's wrote a number of songs that are aimed at specific people in her personal life and personal things. But then to not ever want to talk about it in another light is just playing it both ways.
I think it's like she said, she's not trying to put out this personal music so that you can know about her life. And she has literally said that she puts out some of this music that's more deeply personal because she knows that her fans are going to relate to it in their own life. They're going to take the lyrics, the ideas, the experiences that she has gone through and see themselves in that.
Yeah, like if you think about Richard Poet's Apartment, Thank You, Amy, that's one of my favorite songs off that album. I do not think about Kim Kardashian. I think about like Kim, I think about who that would be. And I really deeply relate to that song. And I feel like that's a cool way to spin it of like, yeah, we can speculate about what happened. And I don't think we ever need to know the answer necessarily. But I don't care because when I hear that song, I think about specific experiences, a specific person, and that person is not Kim Kardashian, who we think the song may have been written for, But I also kind of like not knowing. It's not my business.
I will say, in defense of Taylor Swift, it's got to be absolutely unbearable to be her with that many people always wanting a piece in your face and all that. And that's absolutely insane. I think she does enough to keep people involved in this personal thing, and that's how she does it. But then she says she doesn't want people in her personal life, and it's a little bit contradictory to me personally.
You feel like it's contradictory.
I think it's also very hard because if we look at other artists pre the internet, the way that the internet is today, we did not have access to the amount of information we now have. And I think that's going to be the thing that makes this whole Taylor Swift thing unbearable, is how much information we have access to. Not only information of things that have actually happened, paparazzi, but we also have these influencers who are going on speculating about different things. They're creating another story. Other people are speaking on that story. All of a sudden, we just have way too much going on, and we're so far from maybe what the truth is, or so close that, like, she doesn't want to speak on it. And I don't think she has to, because we've already spun the narrative 100 million different ways because of every opinion on that. I think that's going to be also something that kind of puts her in a weird spotlight, is she may be one of the first artists that that's happening to. It's going to keep happening more and more. But if we think about artists back before TikTok was a huge thing, back before Instagram, Facebook, anything online was a huge thing, we didn't have access to their life like we do.
Oh, you did. You did.
But you had different ways.
You had tabloids, you had magazines. Look at Princess Diana.
Yeah, you had to really go out of your way to consume
Ooh,
something like that.
no,
You had to go purchase it, whereas like TikTok, it's just on your free page for free. You sit there and scroll through it for hours.
No, there's this thing called the news and TV that was around back in the day before TikTok.
Before TV, too.
Because again, not everybody goes to TikTok. So, you can't act like that's part of everyday life where it's just there.
But I think the truly crazy people.
The crazy people are going to be the crazy people. But when your name is known throughout the world, it's always been a problem and always will be a problem for that person.
It's just louder now. There's more noise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really believe that. I believe you see it, people being, because now you can go out there and put your opinion out there and you see other people's opinions. They've always had them.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like more accessible.
Other people's bullshit is more accessible.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because now every, person has a voice, right? Some of those people maybe shouldn't. It's like when we watched The Wizard of Oz last night in the Sphere here in Vegas, and the Scarecrow says people who don't have a brain do an awful lot of talking.
Yeah, real. Mm-hmm.
So again, that's not her as much, but I do feel like it's played into sometimes through the help of her PR and her handlers and her team. So let's talk a little bit about some of these relationship arcs prior to where she is now.
Where we start?
I don't know. Where you want to start?
I was never invested in the relationship thing up until Tortured Poets Department. That was the first time that I ever kind of gave in to the speculation about who the songs were about.
Yeah.
Because before that, I was too young to care. I didn't know who Jake Gyllenhaal was or John Mayer.
Right.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But Maddie Healy, I knew who that was. I listened to the 1975. Obviously, I kind of knew about Joe because she'd written songs about him before. So he was present in her life. Like, I can put a face to the name. I don't remember his last name right now.
People were speculating they weren't, like, together
Exactly.
anymore.
That's when I
And then you saw, like, the videos of him at the Eras tour. And you're like, what in the hell is wrong with this guy?
Yeah. And she, like, released You're Losing Me on, like, the deluxe track to Midnights. And that's the first time that I was like, whoa, what's going on? But before that, I know she dated Joe Jonas, didn't really care. I know she dated Harry Styles, ? I also didn't really care.
Right. It's not about who she's dating. It's about the way people are like, well, she's just a girl writing about a boy. One thing that's bothered me, especially in the later years, coming to Tortured Poets Department, she's not a young girl. She's 35 years old now.
Yeah.
She's a woman, a grown woman. And I feel like a lot of times in society, culture, and even herself, they want to treat her as
just hard on a girl or something.
Yeah, they give her a pass. So when I listen to some of that, I'm like, you're a grown-ass woman. Why are you doing this right now?
I think that everyone has also, like, as someone who can, like, relate to those songs based on, like, my relationships, I appreciate it a little bit. Like, we all had our Joe Alwyn where we were, like, dated for, like, 6 years and then broke up randomly. And, like, then you, like, listen to those songs and you're like, whoa, that actually makes sense. Like, the first time I heard So Long London, I was still in my last relationship. And I was like, why do I relate to this so much? And we broke up, like, right after that came out. And that to me was like, oh, I do understand these emotions that she's going through. Now, I'm, I think, 10 or so years younger than Taylor Swift, so it's a little bit different because I'm a little younger. And I feel like as a grown woman, maybe I wouldn't write and produce those kind of songs.
Yeah.
But she knows how to cope with what she's going through. She also kind of knows her audience is going to be people who are going through something similar. I don't think she wrote Tortured Poets Department for every single person on the planet to consume. But
I agree
there.
Yeah, I definitely agree there.
Who, like, can relate to it. Because, like, not everyone's going to.
I completely agree on her not writing it, and I know who I am, and I know it's not written for me, but at the same time, I feel like the media has played this game, and maybe it's even encouraged by her team that she's a girl.
Yeah, that's part of the narrative I don't necessarily love, but I don't know. I didn't really give in to
And she's been a grown woman for quite a while,
Yeah.
and they act like she's not, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
I guess I've never felt that way, that her team was ever trying to portray her as any other age different than what she is.
I felt like she was issued a lot of passes for things.
I think if a man was doing the same thing, it probably would be not as like
Yeah, we were
like-
going to get into that a little bit too, because I did want to touch on it. Is what is fair criticism and what is misogyny? Because another aspect I've seen with her in that same vein is her team or her people or her followers, when somebody says something negative, that it is misogyny as opposed to just criticism. And that's where I say you got to remember that she's a woman now, and I feel like she's been given a pass on some things. Bruca, I know you got thoughts.
No, honestly, really, I don't. No thoughts, I don't think. Nothing but smooth brain.
You're like the scarecrow over here.
Words are mumps.
You're like the
All
scarecrow.
ideas slide right out.
No. I think as a society though, we do like misuse criticism and misogyny and like everything that falls under that like umbrella.
Yeah.
Like just because a lot of people can't take criticism.
Mhm.
But then it also like brings up like another thing, like if she was to go on and be like, yeah, this song is about this individual, that would be slander at that point
Yeah.
for some of those songs. So like that's a completely other thing too. I feel like the one time I really give into who's this song about is there's a TikToker who acts out the different men listening to Taylor Swift songs. She's got the Kennedy Kid persona. She's got like Joe Jonas persona, a Joe whatever persona. She's got some where she acts as Harry Styles, Travis Kelce, and it's all the same video. So every time she goes through a Taylor Swift song, and it's like different Taylor Swift men listening to the song and being like, oh yeah, this is like a really good bop. And then all of a sudden it gets to a specific part and they're like, wait, is this about me?
And is this whole play
And the
about
other characters are like, yeah, you messed up on this one. It's not us. The weight's off our back. I do love that skit. I can't lie. But again, most of her albums, when they came out about certain men, I had no idea who they were. I
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
still couldn't pick out Jake Gyllenhaal in a crowd of white men with brown hair.
The only relationship pre-torture post department that I had ever given any thought to in the music was, of course, the Taylor Lautner Back to December thing.
I forgot
Because
about
I
him.
always
Yeah.
liked imagining that Taylor Lautner was the good guy. I guess I don't know
He
why,
is.
but
He
like
is.
just
he imprinted on a baby?
Oh my god. That's a whole
like
different
yeah.
thing.
Don't even get into
That's
that.
a whole different thing. But yeah, I do like that one. I completely forget that he exists sometimes because we don't hear his name as much because he didn't like emotionally scar her.
Yeah,
Um
right.
But no, that one I liked, but I also, again, at the time didn't know that. That's something I learned in my adult life, was that song was about Taylor Lautner. I didn't know that when Speak Now came out. I didn't even know it was.
I think I remember it just because there was also the Valentine's Day movie that came out where they both started. Oh, you
I've
should
never seen that
watch
one.
it. You should
Yeah.
watch it. Now, in that movie, Valentine's Day is a movie that's multi-perspective. So you're following several different couples throughout the course of Valentine's Day. And in the movie, Taylor Swift and Taylor Lautner play a couple who are in high school. And it's very meta because they're
Mhm.
kind of in a similar relationship outside of the movie. So it's very
Yeah.
silly, very funny, their
Mhm.
relationship. It's fun. But yeah, that's the only relationship I can ever think about torture post.
And I will say, in every video from that TikToker, Taylor Lautner is always the good guy. He's always like, yeah, this one's a bomb. And like, you know, really hyping
Exactly.
up like
Yeah,
the music.
exactly.
And then all the other Taylor Swift men are like in the corner, like she'll be like rocking back and forth.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the only bit I like of it.
Okay, we're moving on.
All right.
So now we've entered the Travis Kelce era. Just real quick, is this the end game?
I hope not. That feels bad to say. I don't know. Their whole relationship seems like a PR stunt to me, and I can't get behind it. And then she released that latest album that's about him, and every single song about him in there, I'm just like, this is who you're writing about? But I can't judge. I
Bruca?
am. I just shouldn't.
I am in the boat of, I think it's nice to see Taylor Swift finally, quote unquote, winning, right? There's kind of this idea of she finally found a man who's not clinically insane. Almost.
Hold up.
Have we seen the background of him doing that dating show? Because I saw that.
So, see, this is another thing I don't like.
What?
You guys love to assume that every problem in every relationship is the guy's problem.
Well, you know
that
what?
was a
If the shoe
joke.
fits.
No.
Okay, number
It's a
one,
shoe
that
fix.
was a joke. And I will be the first to admit that that's not true because obviously, once again, going back to freaking Back to December and Taylor Lautner, the whole point of her writing that song and about that relationship was that she was in the wrong. She's like
that Midnight Rain? Or, yeah, it's called Midnight Rain, isn't it? Or something like that. In Midnights? That's also her saying she was in the wrong. She wanted something different. There are multiple songs that she does admit that fault. It's the media. I mean, it spins the narrative opposite.
Right. I think all of Midnights is really her saying, I am a real person and I do have my own faults and everything. So I feel like you're glazing over the parts where she does admit where she has had her miss. The point really was just that I think she has finally had her win. The whole in all hopes. I don't see their relationship, but in any sort of personal way.
Yeah.
But it's from outward looking in that you can hope that that they are mutually getting the best out of this relationship.
I think maybe it is that way because he's a departure from all the other ones. I'm sure you guys will tell me I'm wrong at some point, but in my humble opinion, she's dated nothing but betas for the most part.
She's dated nothing but men who look like they have cigarettes for breakfast.
Yeah, and they probably use more product than she does.
Yeah.
Until Travis.
Like, the stuff that we do see, I think is a little bit of a PR stunt. But, like, at the end of the day, I think she keeps a lot of things private, and that's how it should be. Just because it's private doesn't mean it's bad, you know?
It's so hard to say, too, because when her relationship with Travis Kelce really hit the media, it was all eyes on, right? And they were kind of pushing it out themselves, too. And so it did very much feel like a PR stunt at first, but it's also like, who's to say that maybe it's just this because they have a truly healthy relationship. Right?
I don't believe in the PR stunt because the way I think about that, when people said the PR stunt, it's like, what in the hell does she have to gain with this? Right? Or really even what does Travis, I mean, Travis definitely has a lot more to gain, but there's nothing really to gain for a PR stunt for this, you know?
I think it was just weird and different that we were seeing
that
her relationship so publicly.
Like,
that is what made it seem like it was a PR stunt.
Well, that, and I think, it goes back to me, it was also a huge departure from previous people she's dated.
Yeah.
Because she's dated all these guys in this artist atmosphere, right? And then with real men now. No, I don't know. I did see an article about that the other day.
Of course you did.
I don't know the answer to all that, obviously.
Really? You can't call them up personally and ask?
But then again, you can't think that she's told us that all along. I was thinking about that when I was listening to some of the albums in preparation for this. You know, sitting on the bleachers. She does always kind of hint at that. That's what she's after.
A football player.
Yeah. Or that type of person.
I think it's just coincidental.
It is a little bit coincidental, but...
No. Think about how a Taylor, like a crazy Swiftie, would take it. That
87 and 89, she knew it.
Yeah, she's the mastermind. She knew this shit from the beginning.
Yeah, that's where I was talking about the identity and all this mastermind stuff. That's what I was getting at.
I don't know. I think overall, I just hope for the best of them that it is truly like mutually beneficial. I really disagree with the people who hope this relationship fails simply that there will be an album to come out of it.
Because after the last album, I'm not sure I want to listen to the breakup of it. If I had already listened to a song called Wood, I don't want to know what comes after that.
At the same time, though, I think there are also people that think that maybe her artistry is going to end because of Travis Kelce. And I still don't think that's true because it's like you have Folklore and Evermore to prove that she is an artist beyond just writing about
Right.
her.
See, I will go back to, I don't want to hear a 37-year-old woman break a album.
No.
I don't think anybody really does.
No.
Right.
What I really want from Taylor Swift, and I know that it's probably not possible, is another folk. But I loved that genre of storytelling. I think that was her best work. And I don't know if we'll get that again.
So, Brooke, where do you see Taylor in 10 years?
I mean, I don't think that is in any way for me to speculate on,
Yeah,
really.
it
Like,
is. We're
I
just
guess it
talking.
okay, like, not in her personal life, nah, I got
I don't even care
nothing to
about
say.
personal life. Where do you
As an
see her
artist.
I'm
as an
getting
art?
there. Can you give me a dang minute? Okay. As an artist, I would say that I hope she's still touring because I would like to get my chance at going to a tour for once. I know that she has said herself that she doesn't ever really plan on stopping writing music anytime soon. And I'm just interested to see what kind of new era she can come up with because everything is always different. We saw the drastic change between Tortured Poets Department and The Life of a Showgirl recently. I think that that's pretty crazy. And so it's how can you follow up these drastic changes that have already been made with something new? I know that there's like all the TikToks online saying that she needs a true rock album, and there's been aesthetics put out there. I don't know, maybe in the next 10 years I could see that happening. I could see a Stevie Nicks kind of vibe almost as she like goes into her older age.
I would rather see that than the rock album because now, if you're doing the rock album, that's giving Beyonce Cowboy Carter.
Yeah.
I'm just not a
like also fits her more.
yeah. I'm just not a big fan of all these ideas. I'm not a big fan of all these ideas of I want to produce a rap record, I want to make a rock record, a country record, and the only person I think has done any of that semi-successfully is Post Malone.
I can see that. Yeah, if Taylor Swift releases a rap record, you will not see her like late night shit.
Anyways, what I was trying to say though is not like obviously it's not rock in a vacuum. I think that Taylor Swift always has her own way of going about things.
Yeah.
Folklore and Evermore are folk albums, and she of course had Bon Iver and whoever on that album. But you can't really compare those albums to other folk albums. I'm not comparing Folklore and Evermore to Of Mice and Men and Noah Kahan and all of these artists, right? Like it's still Taylor Swift. It's just her own kind of spin on the genre. And so I'm just interested in what kind of different ways she'll come out with her own music in the future.
I feel like I already said it. Like, I want to see more of storytelling. Like, when we got Folklore and Evermore, I want to see something similar to that. Maybe not the same musical style, but I want to see that writing play out because I know that she can do it. I feel like her last album was really lacking in some of the content. She could have gone a lot of ways with the theme she went with like Fate of Ophelia and everything. And I just feel like it wasn't quite there writing wise. I want to see more of the writing. But I could also see her like, and maybe it's not in the next 10 years, but like in the future, trying like to start a music company of some sort. Like I can kind of see her getting into that a little bit. Not 100% sure, but like that's something that I could see her doing because she has like changed the industry in the ways that she has. I could see that gaining traction or being a money-making move to an extent. But I also wouldn't blame her if she did kind of take a break from different things and just let things settle and got married and did what she wanted in her personal life. I wouldn't blame her for that either, for taking a break. But
Yeah.
I personally think that's what needs to happen. I think she needs to take like a 5-year
it's kind of like
relax from the public. The criticisms of Taylor Swift that I brought up, with anybody that gets overexposed, it's going to be more and more of that. Right? And you can definitely say she's overexposed.
Yeah. I think it's kind of people who just like go into relationship after relationship after relationship and they're never truly single and they don't really know who they are. It's kind of similar. I think she would benefit from that, honestly. Probably be good for mental health too, just to take a beat.
It's true.
That's what I would like to see her do. Because the way I think about it too is there's really nowhere more to grow, right? You can't be number one A.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
She's hit the peak.
But I think she also does have a lot of like, there's a lot going on up in her head, you know, where I feel like she could produce some really great music if she took a minute and went back to like storytelling roots.
We didn't get to it. I wanted to, but we didn't really get to it. But I don't want to make a big deal out of it because I think in these last couple years, we've seen her kind of break under some of this and become narcissistic in a lot of ways.
It's like she's not very true to OG Taylor anymore.
Yeah.
Like she's not. That's what I said. I think she would benefit from a break, realizing who she is again as an artist, not just a performer. Because I feel like now she's very much in the performer mindset and not so much in the creative mindset. Getting back to that would be really cool to see.
What do you think, Brooke?
I think that her music is her way of closing each chapter and like being with each thing. Like I know that you said something about her being a performer and that's how she is right now, but it's not necessarily true to what she has been in the past.
Mhm.
And I kind of think that the Life of a Showgirl, her putting out that album was her closing that chapter. And like that was her way of even like, you know, coping with that era of her life. And then I think kind of she's already on a break. I would say, I mean, there's been all the things people are saying online about Opalite, especially because Opalite was released as a single, but then it didn't get any effort at first. Okay, it didn't get any effort probably because she just did all of theirs for it and touring.
I also think that the market becomes oversaturated, to be honest. You guys probably won't agree with me, but eventually she's going to run out of Swifties to buy all these multi-variants and everything, and people are going to tire of it.
Mm-hmm. I think a break.
Yeah. I think my personal opinion is that she's already like on her break.
I think so too. I would agree with that.
But it needs to be much longer, in my opinion. If she kept going the way she's going, a lot of your diehard Swifties are going to stop.
Well, and the expectation is going to be that she releases a new album at the drop of a hat.
So
Right.
you're
not agree that
what
either.
I guess the point that you're trying to make it is that more so like Taylor Swift as a business needs a break. Like they need to stop like trying to put out all of this all of the commodities that come with it.
Right.
Like the album variants and everything, but not necessarily like because when you say Taylor Swift needs to go on a break, I think what I'm more so thinking is that she's gonna like stop writing and just like kind of be silent for a while, but that's not really,
I
like,
think that too. I mean, she can write. Writers write, but we don't need a new album. I think you need a break. She needs a break probably for mental health, like Mac was saying, but the general public needs a break because if you keep doing this, people are going to burn on it.
I'm saying Wes needs a break from Taylor Swift.
No,
Just kidding.
well, I'm not the only one. I mean, eventually you're going to start to burn your own people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think that a break for her looks like not putting out an album. I just think that it looks like like there's just a different way that her albums get put out. Folklore and Evermore were a break for her, and those albums didn't get any marketing. They didn't get any special edition vinyls. There was no tour for them, right? And who's to say COVID is why that didn't happen?
I think that was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, but I also think Taylor Swift is never going to stop writing, and she has said that that's just what she does. She's always writing music,
Sure.
and that's how like she copes with her life. The same way some people journal or whatever. I think that you just can't fault her and say like she needs a break just because she's putting out albums. Like I think that even though she might be putting out albums, that is not to say that she's not on a break, because I think that it just looks different for her. Now, I agree with what you're saying about I think that her business model needs a break. We need to stop with all the freaking acrylic cardigans coming out for every little thing.
I really wanted to get a part of that more, like all these different, when she came out with limited edition record, and then, oh, okay, I gotta get this. And then the next 2 days, it's a new limited edition
Yeah,
record.
she definitely did that hard
Yeah.
with the Life of a Showgirl
So-
for like 5, I think.
And Midnights and that kind of shit. I could go on for days in anger about that because I think it's BS. But what I think is if you just keep going, putting out, quality's going to go down. I think you're hurting your own brand. And that goes for 99% of artists and acts. Like, as far as I'm concerned, she's probably had a better than average run of 12 records.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Because even 12 is a lot for an artist
Right.
or a band or something.
Especially within the time frame too.
Yeah, in the time frame, exactly. And eventually you're going to peter out, and I promise you people are going to start tuning out. So I would like to see maybe a step back and then come back with something.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't know.
Call her up and tell her.
I think she's become overexposed.
You are entitled to your opinion. Just want you to know that we see you.
We hear you.
People hate the Kardashians. Why do you think that is?
Certainly. Sorry.
Because they're always there. People don't want to see this shit.
Imagine if
dying,
you
Kim.
said that about somebody in your real life.
I would say that about people in my real life. They're just always there.
Why are you talking? That's friends and loved ones, not random ass
But
celebrities.
that's what I'm saying. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
could
just
you-
so funny to say
No,
that
it's
about
not.
like a living
not.
person.
You think Kim Kardashian for that matter, give one shit about you?
No, that's not what I'm trying to say either.
Oh my God.
So is Taylor Swift an ethical billionaire?
I don't think you can yet.
Oh, here we go.
This
This
is
is
a whole
gonna
other
add
thing.
like a whole hour.
Yeah, if we're gonna do that, I've got to get another Red Bull. We've got to take a break before we get into that.
Just yes or no.
I don't know. That's my answer.
I already said it. I don't think you can be an ethical.
I'll say
Yeah,
no.
that's fair.
I don't think there's such thing. Those two words don't really belong together.
Yeah, that's true.
But
I think though we've had this discussion. Here we go. Now we're gonna get into
Oh
it.
my
My
God.
reason for saying I don't know is because I don't agree with the idea that she is a billionaire, because I don't think that her billions come in cash flow, which is
Right.
what I think makes you an unethical billionaire. I think it's really truly net worth and these more creative assets, the intellectual property.
Right, but that's anybody. Jeff Bezos, like we've talked before, is a billionaire.
No.
And
Because
a
this
huge
was
amount of his
the
wealth is
argument.
tied up in Amazon warehouses and
No, I
infrastructure.
understand, but we have talked about this before of like Jeff Bezos, while yes, maybe billion, whatever, is also tied up in Amazon, but we still see him flex in insane amount of cash that I don't think Taylor Swift would ever even be able to flex. We talk about
What?
the wedding in Venice
What?
and the freaking how much did that ring cost that they said on TikTok?
so much.
Or
but-
whatever. Like you will not see Taylor Swift do that. And who's to say
Expect-
that's
take-
her saying
it's-
like
it's
that
that-
she's trying to hide the money?
Except take 15-minute jet flights.
Oh my goodness, here we go. We don't even know the context on that. So I know, like, I'm not gonna
I don't give a
that
shit
at
the
all, because,
context
like,
because you're doing it.
no, this is why I say I don't know. And it's really more of an argument of whether or not she is a billionaire, I guess. So
No, there's no argument on that. The science is set on that one.
once again, we're talking about cash flow versus asset.
That's
and I
lots
think
of
that
people.
Jeff Bezos' cash flow looks way different than Taylor Swift.
It probably does. Large majority of their net worth is tied up in things. They don't actually have $20 billion sitting in their bank account. Same thing with Elon. He owns rockets. He owns launch sites. He owns Teslas. He owns plants. He
Yeah,
owns...
okay. And now you're talking about something that's totally different because we're just comparing asset to asset. It's like saying freaking, obviously, like Oppenheimer, who is...
What?
the fuck did we just go? Because I'm talking... Okay, that was an extreme example. Let me back that up. We're talking about Amazon being the asset versus a creative asset. It's totally two different values.
Right, but it's still worth money.
Understand, but you can liquidate Amazon.
Yeah.
You cannot liquidate
Bullcrap.
albums.
You could turn around and sell your masters again any day for $1 billion.
No.
So don't give me that. I didn't say she's on the level of Bezos and Elon Musk or Bill Gates.
Mhm.
But I'm tired of people not acknowledging she is now part of the 0.5%.
Mm. Okay,
And now we
talking
change our
about-
tune about the 0.5% because she's in it now. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay, we're talking
So
about like
when we eat the
eat
rich,
concept.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'm not excluding Taylor Swift.
okay,
Whatever.
fair enough.
Is that make you happy?
It does make me very happy. Okay,
Okay, sounds good.
that's what I want to get at.
Okay,
Okay, this has been fun. The fool.
beautiful.
How am I a fool?
You're trying to get into economics.
I know, because there is economics. I'm tired of people getting passes because some people like them. It's the same thing people want to give like Beyonce and Jay-Z a pass.
Hell no. Beyonce and Jay-Z, they're first to go. They're probably the most unethical. I mean, we don't know the full story, but
Yeah.
there's been heavy speculation on this shit that they're in.
Oh yeah,
So,
oh yeah, 100%. But also, like, just because you like an artist doesn't mean
yeah, I got you.
and it's the
Well,
same
my
thing
point
in
is
politics too.
also-
It's class warfare.
Yes.
Okay, Mac. Before we
Yeah.
close this episode out, answer one question.
Okay.
When we're eating the rich, are we eating Taylor Swift?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. I like that answer.
I don't support cannibalism. I'm not in the finals.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this 2-part episode. If you have feelings yourself about Taylor Swift, please let us know.
But not my dad when he listens to this. Don't let us know your feelings. No.
No, I want to hear them all.
No, you don't.
We're
I'd
not
play.
censoring the discussion.
Yeah.
Now. That's wild.
So for everybody listening to
Yes.
this and you heard some of my strong opinions, I'm not a hater of Taylor Swift. I just think there's some things that need to be talked about, and she gets a pass on sometimes.
It's just a girl, Wes.
Just a girl.
She's just a girl.
Just like Gwen Stefani. Anybody else got their final shots, things they want to say? Until next week. This has been From Vinyl to Viral. Been joined today with
Bruca.
And Mac?
And we'll be back next week with a new topic. Make sure you like, share, listen, whatever. I don't care. And you can find our contact information in the show notes. Till next time. Peace.
Peace. There's been a lack of that.